right, I'm working on this, trying to get this done with some technical difficulties, but it's all going to happen. All right, for those of you that don't know, my name is Joe McCracken, and this is my YouTube channel, McCrackalacken, or at McCrackalacken. Now, I'm doing this video in February. Today is February 8th. I'll probably post this online, and I'm going to address a couple of issues that I have had that I've seen many of you dealing with online. And I struggled with it myself until I actually figured out what was going on. I purchased a brand new 2024 Whiskey Fire Road Glide in March. I gave myself a birthday present. It's basically what it was. I believe it was around in July, Harley-Davidson released an update for the software version for the IFCU. That's the entertainment system on there, on your bike. And I did what it talked about. I got myself two little, what are they? Samsung drives. Now they're 128 gigabyte, and they suggested that you not use 128. They suggested that you use 32 gigabyte. All right, well, I basically formatted them in the exFAT 32, which allows you to use up to 128. That's the big difference, okay? And everything seemed to work fine. I did not need the first drive, but the second drive that had this software update, you can see it right there. I hope you can see that. The 240.00.2237D software. Okay. That was the update. Now that's about a 14 gigabyte file size. It's a large file. And I'm like many other people, I'm not always prone to reading directions completely. Even if I do read them, I sometimes don't read them correctly. I thought I had completely installed that version update on my bike, because when I went here, now I didn't take a picture of it. I should have taken a picture of it before I did this. But what I want you to see is, see this top number up here where it says Skyline OS version. Now this is the new update. This shows you that I did actually accomplish the update. But what it showed on my screen was, it showed one number here, and it showed that 2237D number down here. So I'm thinking that all I have to do is use the second USB for update. And I was mistaken, because for it to have worked, this number needed to be exactly the same. If you have, so here's the first thing I want you to note. If you're having problems getting yours to update to the 4125D, if these two numbers don't match right here, okay, I mean, if you look, you'll see the 4125, you see these two numbers are the same. It just says Instana, all right? These numbers do not match, then that update did not update completely. No, I don't know why, it doesn't matter. So what I wound up having to do was this. I did some searching, and at Harley-Davidson's, oh hell, I forget what you call these things, these bulletin boards, there was a guy that basically said the same thing. And I'm like going, okay, well, I went and checked it out, and this link that you see in here, I'm gonna try to create a link and leave it down in the description portion of the update or upload once I put it up. So you can click on this link, or if anything, I'll leave the address to this so that you can click on the link there. But what you need to do is you need to download, this is the 2237 update, and you need to download it, and you need to do exactly what they were telling you to do for this most current update, the 4125 Delta. And what you'll have to do is go through the same process. You'll need to install it and let it completely install. And apparently I didn't do that. Now why, I don't know. And I think maybe what it was, here's another thing to remember. Take your phone, all right, and put your phone on airplane mode. Because if you don't, and you get a phone call while you're installing that software, that's the radio it talks about in the instructions, turning the radio off on your phone. If you don't do that, it'll leave Bluetooth, don't worry about that. But if you don't do that, what will happen is it will interfere. And I have a feeling that's what happened, because I do remember getting a phone call during that update. Well, it stopped it. All right, so once you do that, you install this 2237 Delta. All right, it's going to tell you it's done. Turn the bike off again or take it out of the update mode. Swap out for the 4125 Delta version. Put it in, okay. Plug it back in to the USB. Start it up. And by the way, people that will tell you that it will not work off of a Mac, it's not true. I updated this off of these files being unarchived, which is basically what it is, or unzipped, onto these drives. I did it off of my Mac, my Mac Mini M1. And ran them in there and did this. Okay, so once you do that, reinstall it, and you'll see both of those numbers. Now here's another point for you to know. Once you've installed it, and you're going to go through several different cycles, it did take, so you do want to have it plugged into a battery tender somewhere. It did take about, for me, it only took about 30 minutes. But it did cycle through there's 5 different cycles it's going to go through, because there are 4 updates and then the amplifier update. Now, what I will say is this, the amplifier update, it did increase the sound. And I can actually, if I'm doing 90 miles an hour, I said if, I didn't say I was, I said if I'm doing 90 miles an hour, I do have to turn it up all the way to hear it. Now, don't freak out, because I already replaced the stock speakers in my bike with a couple of Hertz 200 watt ability speakers. So yeah, it was cranking, I could hear it, wasn't hurting the speakers, because it's only a 50 watt per channel amplifier when you do that. That's the stock one, all right, because it's a 4-channel. It only has 2 channels. It's a 200 watt amp, but it only has 50 watts per channel. All right, so going back to it, here's one of the ways you'll know it was successful. First off, both of those numbers will match. But here's something else. When you hit the return button, now not the menu button, but the return button to start going back, this will be added, okay, to your menu. Now I just noticed that. I've never noticed that before, but I just noticed that. And I'm like going, so I clicked on it, and it told me that there were no updates at this point. So you can check that every once in a while now without having to plug stuff in. And they tell me that with the 4125 update, this one, that it will all be done online now. It can be done online. Well, I imagine that's how it's going to be done, because if you're close enough to Wi-Fi and you click that, it's going to look for a software update. Now, here's something else that's not even really having anything to do, well, it does. I also installed, now I did the software update first. I also installed a set of heated grips on my bike. I got the Adversary ones because I've got a Whiskey Fire, and that orange kind of matches the Whiskey Fire. I've tossed between the Kahuna ones because they're more rubber and I like that. And out here, sometimes metallic-y type things get a little warm. But I'm okay with that. If I don't like it, I'll just swap them out. But here's the interesting thing. So if you look at the instructions from Harley, and I imagine these instructions are old. So here's the third tip I'm giving you. Once you take the covers off, the actual units themselves, the electrical units themselves, in the instructions it tells you that if it has a suffix letter, in other words, it's going to be like 27 blah 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 number, and then a letter at the end of it, then your grips, your system is what is called a self-healing system, which means you won't have to take the bike in to Harley to get it flashed to recognize your heated grips. Okay, so after pulling off the caps on both sides of my bike, because I bought it in March, I imagine maybe it came a little later, I don't know when. I just know that those letters were not at the end of the numbers. And I thought, well, you know, I'm gonna do what everybody says to do. I installed them. I basically put the damn it, what is it? You know, the fuse back in. Thank you, duh, brain fart. Put the fuse back in and turned the bike off. Went through, turned the bike back on, and I checked for any codes. There was one, but I couldn't get it to clear, and I couldn't find out what it was. But I said, okay. I just turned the bike on. Now, not in the diagnostic thing, but just turned the bike on, because I watched a YouTube video of a guy installing these things that said to let it sit, keep it plugged into the battery tender, but leave it set for 5 minutes. And I'm like, okay, that's cool. Let the bike learn. Well, lo and behold, wouldn't you know it, it learned that I had installed the grips. The only issue I had was I didn't pull the boot on my clutch sensor. I didn't pull the boot back far enough to make sure the plug was plugged in, and that's where the code was being tripped. As soon as I pulled that boot back and then plugged that back in and stuck it on there, turned it on, it self-healed to that code and recognized my heated grips. And I do have heated grips now, and they do work really nice. Even the low setting, quite frankly, was pretty dang hot. Now, I'm out here in the desert, and so it's not like I was, in freezing temperatures. But I'm going to go on a ride tomorrow, and we're going to be going up in some of the mountains where early enough to where, if it's cold enough, I can just turn them on to 1 and warm my little hands up without having to put cold gloves on. I hate them. They're thick. You don't have the same feel as everything. All right. So I probably went way too long with this video. I'll know once I turn it off, but there we go. Like I said, before I post this, I'm going to try to make sure I include this right here. But here's what I want to show you. I mean, look at this. This is on the Harley-Davidson forum. You can copy that down. I will put this. This is what I'm going to try to copy and put in my underneath portion. and go down, and I'm actually going to try to put this link in there as well, in case for whatever reason I haven't been very successful at getting some of the links to work, okay, in my YouTube videos. But I'm going to try to have both. And just remember, it's very simple. You just install this one first. But let's be clear. If you don't have both of these as the same number, if this is a different number than that 2213 or whatever, what the heck is it? Let's go back. That 2237D, if that's not a 2237D and that's a 2237D, not the same two numbers, I don't care what you do, it's not going to install. And by the way, I did actually get, where did you go? I tried two different 128s. These are ponies. I finally wound up getting a SanDisk 32 gigabyte and had no problem with it. I don't think the other ones would have been an issue. It's just that I used the SanDisk first, a 32 gigabyte one, and had no issues with the 4215 Delta install. I used one of these for that 2237 Delta, which is what I had done originally. All right, guys, so I've already made this video way too long, but I hope this helps, and keep the wind in your hair and the rubber side down, folks. This is McCrack-a-lackin' out.